Good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everyone doing today? How is everyone doing today? Everyone's doing just absolutely amazing. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I see we have some new faces here today. Good morning and welcome to the menagerie. It's good night. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, hopefully you can get some sleep then. We're gonna keep it nice and chill today. 1 second, actually. I need to double check on something. One second. We're gonna be very, very quick about this because I'm gonna go into here, go into here, go into here. And we're gonna turn all of these things off real quick. There we go. That's turned off. And lastly, we're gonna turn off the notification sound. Amazing. Okay. Wait, what's up? Is Ocean doing okay? What's wrong, sweetie? You're more sync, eep time? Okay, you get some sleep. Hope everything's going okay. Okay, we're gonna do our normal morning thing of, saying good morning to everybody who's checked in and congratulating those who are first, second, and third. So, I see we can't count again today. You ready? Thank you for being third. Nelia? How dare you? Good morning, Cuber, sweetie. Thank you for being first, Lunar Rain. Thank you for being second, Yoshihiko. Aye. Oribu. What are you doing here? I just started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. What interesting timing. You got us just in our little startup. But how are you doing, Raiders? My name's LuckyJene. I'm a gambler. I am a writer. And I'm a soon-to-be villain. And since there's new people here, you know what that means. We have to do every time. Unfortunately for you, lovely new people, I've installed this in every room of the house. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? And now you're trapped here too. Congratulations and welcome to the cage. We'll have you here too. Yeah. See, I figured the best way to grow as a streamer was by making sure anybody who raids never leaves. And now you're stuck here too. No, it's okay though. But how was your stream? Can we get a shout out? I'm not sure if we've already gotten one yet. You can gamble from in there. Oh, no, I've had one of these installed in every room. Just in case. Just in case. But welcome, welcome, welcome. What were you doing? I'm assuming ASMR, because that's what I always catch you doing. Let's take a quick little look. Yes, ASMR. Nice. But this is a fantastic person. They're an amazing streamer. And if you all like ASMR, you should definitely go check them out. And the best thing about this cage is that I can shake the cage. See? So easy. Anyways, where were we? So right now what I'm doing is I'm saying good morning to everybody who's checked in, so let's get started with that. Good morning, Tally and Amy. Good morning, Poison and Yoshihiko. Good morning, Nelia and Siggy. Good morning, Julia and Blue Valley Lilies. Oh, and if you need to raid and run, please feel free to do so. I do really, really appreciate it. Good morning, Infernal and Naptime. Good morning, My Chemical Flame and Shadow Viper. Good morning, Sakona and Ollie. Good morning, Elliptical Panda and Filamental Brookie. Good morning, Assassin and Lavender. Morning, Ocean and Jay and Valero. Good morning, Pandragon and Vigi. Good morning, Okami and Zeko. Good morning, Pinky. Good morning, Dwarf. Good morning, Kitty. Alorican and Solar Gamers. Thank you all for checking in. I really, really, really do appreciate it. No, you're in jail. I'm not in jail. So this morning, we're going to be doing some soft-spoken gaming. I'm trying to decide whether I want to do modded Minecraft. Oh no, I'm getting head pounded, aren't I? There it is. Or if we want to do standard Minecraft. Should we flip a coin? What do you think? Standard? Or modded? Or is there any preference? Oh, I'm getting bonked now, aren't I? There it is. Roll a dice. Oh, you make me put so much effort into things. Or we could just read some poetry. You know what? Let's read some poe. Alright, you ready? Let's do... you know, or we could do Lord Byron. Good morning, Jay. Let's do some Lord Byron. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes. Thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies, one shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens over her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. Hi, Moo Moo. Good morning, good morning. I think I'm gonna read some more poetry until my brain is in the right place. Anyone have a problem with that? I'm enjoying poetry today. I think it's hitting my brain right. How are you, Moo Moo? Shouldn't you be asleep right now? What is it? You haven't gone to sleep yet, have you? And thou art dead as young and fair. Yeah, you want to do some ASMR rivals? And thou art dead as young and fair as aught of mortal birth, and form so soft and charm so rare too soon return to earth. Though earth received them in her bed and o'er the spot the crowd may tread, in carelessness or mirth, there is an eye which could not brook a moment on that grave to look. I will not ask where thou liest low, nor gaze upon the spot. There flowers or weeds at will may grow, so I behold them not. It is enough for me to prove that what I loved and long must love, like common earth can rot, to me there needs no stone to tell. 'Tis nothing that I loved so well. Yet did I love thee to the last, as fervently as thou, who didst not change through all the past, and canst not alter now. The love where death has set his seal, nor age can chill, nor rival steal, nor falsehood disavow. And what we were worse, thou canst not see, or wrong, or change, or fault in me. The better days of life were ours, the worst can be but mine. The sun that cheers, the storm that lowers, shall never more be thine. The silence of that dreamless sleep I envy now, too much to weep, nor need I to repine that all those charms have passed away I might have watched through long decay. The flower in ripened bloom unmatched must fall the earliest prey, though by no hand untimely snatched, the leaves must drop away. And yet it were a great grief to watch it withering leaf by leaf, that see it plucked today, since earthly eye but ill can bear to trace the change to foul from fair. Good morning, Ezreal. Welcome, welcome. I know not if I could have borne to see thy beauties fade. The night that followed such a norm had worn a deeper shade. Thy day without a cloud hath passed. Thou wert lovely to the last, exchanged not decayed, as stars that shoot along the sky, shine brightest as they fall from high. As once I wept if I could weep, my tears might well be shed, to think I was not near to keep one vigil o'er their bed, to gaze how fondly on thy face, to hold thee in faint embrace upon thy drooping hand, and show that love, however vain, nor thou nor I can feel again. Yet how much less it were to gain, though thou hast left me free, the loveliest thing that still remain, and thus remember thee, the all of thine that cannot die through dark and red eternity, returns again to me, and more bury thy buried love endears, that unexpected is living years. And there we go. Alright, I think I've decided. I think I want to do a new vanilla hardcore Minecraft. Nice and chill. Relaxing. As much as I love the modded Minecraft.
Sorry, I don't have an answer.
1 second. I apologize for my Alexa being rude. I might need to just unplug her. I will murder her in her sleep. You cannot stop me. You may try, but you may not stop me. You wouldn't try to save a clinker. Is that what I'm hearing? Panda, you have been a good, strong, brave boy. Are you going to use her to torment me? That's the idea. I'll put one in the basement and one in the rest of the house. Then you can send me messages. Thank you for the check-ins. Thank you for the check-ins. Good morning, Moon. Chelsea and Mumu. Kinda wish it snowed. I don't. I'm freezing. I'm all wrapped up in a blanket. And I'm feeling so tired. There's something about the cold that just makes me want to sleep. To just never ever get up. To just stay in bed all day, no matter what I do. No matter what I do. But I suppose it's not an option, is it? To sleep all day. Even if it's cold. Good morning, Dar. The Dar sneak in. And thank you for the follow, Wolf's End. Welcome to the menagerie. Speaking of the menagerie, my lovely little voidlings, do you know that we've hit 19,000 little voidlings over on the TikTok? 19,000. And I'm learning very quickly that as much as I understand about TikTok and social media, that I really do understand very little. Because the things that I think are going to do well flop. And the things that I think are going to do horrible do okay. And then things that I think have flopped actually end up succeeding when I look away. And so here's what I have to say. There is no secret to success except producing things that are good. Oh, there's actually over 20,000 of you. There might be almost 25,000. But just on the Tiki-Takis alone, there's 19,000. On YouTube, I believe there's another 2,000. Here on Twitch, there's almost another... there's almost another 3,000. On Twitter, there's another 1,000. Don't worry, I'm giving you all different cages. You all get a nicer cage. Ooh, isn't that pretty? I love this place. As useless as this biome always feels, it seems nice. You are, because you all get to talk to me. We get to hang out and vibe together. So of course you're going to be the favorite. No, see, you only get upgraded to a new cage. You're still allowed to see the TikTok cage. But since you've been upgraded, stay here. Good morning, Ash. Ashra. Or is it Asher? Good morning, Asher. How you doing? You can sleep to the stream. Close your eye. Relax for a little while. You don't need to be awake. Just leave me open in the background. I'll make sure you stay safe. Promise. And YouTube has been doing surprisingly well, but in a way that makes no sense to me. Because whoa. Well, that's weird looking. We'll go over there and loot it. I just need to find wood first. So we can start actually, progressing a little bit. Have y'all ever looked at this biome? It is very strange. Because you see how it goes in layers, right? You'll find a lot of dungeons and other stuff pushed up to the surface. Like you can see that cutout in that mountain over there. That is most likely like a spawner or something. I think what we'll do is we'll probably build out in the savannah. Because the savannah looks a little pretty. Oh look, see, there's a minecart. And then we'll come back over here to keep clearing things out and fighting things. Oh, I did not hydrate yet. Thank you for telling me. You know what I need to do? To have my perfect stream. What I need is memorize poetry so that I can recite poetry while moving along. I don't even have to stop to pull out a poetry book. I can just memorize it and read it out loud. Oh, wait, do you know, Mumu, what kind of force would make this? Because I don't actually know anything about this kind of atmosphere and environment. But if you would like to tell me, I would love to hear about it. I can't tell if this is one of those, like, pushed out of the ground type things, or if this is a cutaway into the ground type things. It heavily reminds me of, like, canyons, so I imagine this is cut by water and wind, right? Oh, so it's more like mountains, I guess. Okay. This reminds me a bit. I would love biscuits and gravy. Oh, I would love some biscuits and gravy. Biscuits and gravies are one of my, like, comfort foods for cold mornings. Well, I did only recently wake up. I might be a little smelly. You're gosh darn right. I take my morning shower after stream. Exactly. Enjoy your lurk, Ashra, and welcome. I hope you enjoy your time here. Oh no, oh no. If there's white stuff on the ground today, I'm gonna be very, very disappointed. That's a good idea. The problem is I wait until too late to actually go to sleep at night. So by the time it is actually bedtime, I don't have time to shower. It was 93. Are you winning? Of course. Good morning, Marengo. Or good night, depending on the time for you. Maybe I should start taking evening showers. Give me time to remember to do my face care. How is it 93? Wait, I know where you live. I mean, that sounds a lot worse than it is. Mumo, I know where you live. I mean, not exactly. You and my walls? Not you two. How many people are in my walls now? What are you all doing in there? My floorboards? Oh, good luck. A dishwasher leaked into those, so watch out for the gross dishwasher water. Gotta call pest control. Yeah, but Twitch cares about the numbers even if they are in the walls. I can't breathe, let me out. No. Sorry. I've actually started building the cage into the back rooms. But like the OG back rooms, not the new back rooms. This Minecraft save just began. See, I miss the old back rooms. Jingle, 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 it's your favorite topic, the back rooms. I like the idea of a subspace that has nothing in it but room after room after room. Just a bunch of rooms that don't make sense. Not monsters, not horrors, but just rooms. Because imagine how terrifying that is. Nothing but a space that doesn't make sense, that just keeps going on and on and on. Not monsters that make you afraid, but just space. No almond water, no nobody, no nothing, just rooms. What do you mean, what's going on with my eyes? Oh, them flashing? It's because I'm sleepy. My eyes are closing too much. Morning, Hoshi. Unfortunately, things can only track so well. Why'd you wake up? I'm doing lovely. They're pointing opposite directions. That's kind of funny. I've never smoked in my life. Well, I smoked some cannabis, but that was more late in my life. But I sounded like this much before I started smoking cannabis. And I rarely smoke cannabis. Cannabis is a much more fun word to say than weed. It has more syllables to grab onto, and so holds onto the tongue just a little nicer. Fair enough. tobacco. Yes, I smoke cabbages. Though I primarily stick to edibles. It is legal where I am, before you worry. It is legal where I am. I don't have one moon. Caves. Caves. I like being in caves. It doesn't matter where, I just like the caves. All caves. That's too bad. I do think it's funny that I had to think about it, but no, caves are the best. I'm gonna make you all watch, Reefer Madness. We should watch Reefer Madness together, that would be fun. For those who don't know, Reefer Madness is a anti-weed PSA video. And it is hilarious. I think it results in like somebody smoked weed and it makes them murder somebody. Ugh, gotta wait until daybreak. Which I'm gonna be honest. Hugs. Thank you for the stream streak. I have not seen Red Letter Media. Maybe I have, I don't know. Good night, Oliver, the tiny wizard. Sleep well, sleep well. Enjoy casting your little spells. Your tiny spells. You think your sleep schedule is very questionable? Yeah, Hoshi, I worry about you. I did not hydrate, I suppose I will. I love to imagine a little wizard. Fine, I'll use the big mug. Give me a second. One. That is a lush. The lush caves. Good night, Moringa. Good. Lush caves are very nice. That's what we're looking for. I've been looking for you, Cole. I love Lo-Fi Girl. This is the way to do it. Lo-Fi Girl first posted a bunch of other people's lo-fi. Then, once they made enough money, started commissioning their own lo-fi. Made sure it was not AI made. And so, not only do they fund the creation of new music, they create an atmosphere, relaxing and chill for everybody. So you don't have to worry about copyright claims and all that issues. A real patron of the arts. That Lo-Fi Girl. Alright. Let's see how close we are to daybreak. Can I travel safely yet? I once got a book for a game system that feels almost unplayable. Okay. I suppose we're done with that area. All right. We're just gonna wait a second while everything dies out there. Problem, it's still alive. Why is it alive? There it is. Go away. Alright, looks like we're safe. Well, that was a little close call, wasn't it? I'd be amazed if it was actually called Rip-Off Minecraft. There's quite a few rip-offs out there. And I remember back when Minecraft first came out, not when it first came out, but soon after it first came out, there were so many little rip-off games made, and goofy and silly. Some of them were really well made, others were awful. There was that period of time where everybody wanted to make procedurally generated games. And I'll be honest, procedurally generated games are very rarely done well. I'm surprised Minecraft does it so very well, actually. Worldcraft too. That's funny. I like that name. You know, there's this guy who only plays, he's one of my favorite YouTubers. He just plays Dark Souls-like games, right? Good morning, Calypsy, by the way. Thank you for the check-in. And thank you for the headpats. And it's very lovely to watch. But I think it'd be funny if someone did that with Minecraft-like games. Though I guarantee one of the first videos they'd have to do like Terraria and people would get upset saying it's a Minecraft-like game. Which, I mean, it is. I'm pretty sure it is. Even though it is its fully own unique thing. Yeah. You're third person. You see the back of my head. Someone recently actually made me a Minecraft skin. Morning, Cookie. Though I haven't loaded it yet. Oh, I feel you. I can just make it hard when you're close in like this. I almost had a heart attack. I about died on stream. Imagine. This is the last you heard of me, ever. A piece of audio foam just fell from my wall. And I just saw this dropping from the side of my eye. As there was this whole moment where I was, you know, yeah. Listen, all y'all, it's a sabotage. I kind of want to play with this Thalassophobia mod. I think that'd be funny. Adds giant creatures to the ocean and makes the ocean depths massive. Oh, I love that. Oh, wait. Mumu, did you hear me say you should introduce me to Horrormons? And did everybody hear me talk about Hoshi and me are going to do Horrormons? Oh, okay. Well, Mumu, you should introduce me to those Horrormons. I'd love to play them. Me and Hoshi are going to do some Horrormons eventually. I'm looking forward to. I also have to wait on Hoshi to tell me when to do it. Spooky. Let me calling out Hoshi real quick. Yo, Hoshi, where the games at, bro? I think the funnest thing to do in this voice that I have is to call gamer guys baby girl whenever I play any like competitive FPS games. Because some of them get like really upset and other ones are very much like loving it. What's up, Bobby Sprout? They want to be cutesy patootsy. Exactly. I want to be cutesy patootsy. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be cutesy patootsy. Can I say cutesy patootsy a few more times? No, well then wake up slow. Cutesy patootsy. Gibberoni, jibble jibble jibby gee. Jibbida 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 jib. Me when the gibbets be yipping. Me when the jib be yibbits. Me when the jib be bitsing. There we go, I got it. Oh, I only call men baby girl in games. As soon as I hear a woman's voice, I'm just like, oh, yeah, what's up? I hope you're enjoying the game. Because women deal with enough shit in games to begin with. They don't need to have me calling them baby girl. Gibbets is not my fave. Gibbets is one of my... I'll show you the world. Be right back. I have no one favorite. I have many favorites. And it's all of you. All of you are my favorite because you're here. You are a man. Of course you are. And just because we keep getting new people and I need to make sure to check the status of people, trans rights are human rights. There we go. And that ain't a political statement. And if somebody thinks it's a political statement, then it does make me question their existence. We do have a lot of raccoons. Honestly, who keeps leaving trash out? You get called Dad more? Oh, Dad Hoshi. Doshi. Doshi-do. My brain just, I don't know what happened there. Good morning, Katamia, by the way. I'm not sure if I said good morning directly to you. And if Vanya's here, good morning, Vanya. I hope you're doing amazing. I used all my coal. That was dumb. Yeah. I hope your work goes well today. What can you do? What can you do? Lonely like you. A pleasurable pain I can choose. What'd you mean to say, Moo? I lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. I just wanna be the one you love, and with your admission that you feel the same, I could be the one you're dreaming of. Believe me, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart. Did you know it's funny? I knew of that song before Fallout. No, could put on that leather jacket. I'm sure it looks lovely. Not me being like, hipstery about it. More of me being like, I grew up, my father used to sing a song, which I'll sing for you now, called, actually I don't know what it's called, but it goes, I love coffee, I love tea, I love the Java, that's what it's called. Java, and it loves me. Coffee, tea, and my Java and me. A cup. Boston bean, soybean, green bean, cabbage and greens. I'm not keen upon a bean unless it is a chitter bean, boy. I love coffee, I love tea, I love the Java, and it loves me. Coffee, tea, and my Java and me. Cup. I'm sure it was. And the reason why I bring up that song is because it's written by the Ink Spots, who also did I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start flame in your heart. The one thing that annoys me, though, is there's a version of the song, the Java Jive, that is a lot faster, a lot more energetic. Are you counting down my stream? Yeah, we just did 1 hour. Good morning. And the one that I like is just a lot more jazzy. I love coffee, I love tea, I love the Java, and it loves me. Coffee, tea, and my Java and me. A cup. Boston bean, soybean, green bean, cabbage and green. I'm not keen upon a bean unless it is a chitter bean, boy. Love coffee, I love tea. Love the Java, and it loves me. Coffee, tea, and a Java and me. Cup. But the problem is, I can't find it anywhere. Because you see, I don't always see them, that's why. The head pats are silent, and the other things I don't see as well. Because I have an overlay on my screen for text, but it cannot get the redeems, unfortunately. So yeah, the way I used to download songs illegally was I'd get apps like Tiny Toons or Tiny Shark. And you get them on your phone, you put in the song that you want, and it would give you every song that's like being shared out by other people. And so I would just go through and click a bunch of them all at once. And so I'd download like 100 songs, just randomly. And then I'd find the song, and half the time it's labeled wrong. But thank you for the hydrate, thank you for the stretch. And head pats are always appreciated. And so there's so many songs that I found out about that I still haven't found years later. One that took me the longest was the song Sugar by System of a Down. And that one was funny to me. Because here's what happened. Beaches, 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 I have. Well, for Sugar, so back in the day, I used to listen to music on Yahoo Music because I'd have an artist that was featured there. And you'd like scroll through all their music videos, right? Yes, they have a song called Sugar. It's one of my all-time favorites. It was the Komodo mushroom people sitting around all day. Who could believe you? Who could believe you? Let your mother pray. But there was a part in the song where he goes, I got a gun the other day from Zabu's cute. Small fits right in my pocket. Yeah, right in my pocket. And when I was younger, I used Kazaa. And again, did the same thing. I'd put in like a name of a thing, and I'd download every song. Well, one of the things I downloaded was an AMV for a Trigun, and it came with that song. It was one of the coolest AMVs I'd ever seen at the time. And so, years later, I was trying to find out what that song was called, and I could never find it. I had no idea who the song was by, and I'd started listening to System of a Down at the times. I did the autos, and you just weren't paying attention. You gotta be paying attention if you want your redeems. But yes, here, I'll do it one more time for you, okay? So, the song, I couldn't find it for years. Years and years and years. And then one day, I'm out looking at Yahoo Music, and I scroll 1 inch down. And so I'd never scrolled down the page because I didn't realize I could scroll down the page. And beneath all the songs at the very bottom was the song Sugar, and I clicked it, and suddenly there was this connection. And I was like, oh my God, it's been here the entire time. For years it was there, just waiting. No, really? You want this that badly? My mom? Wait, I want to read what this said there. 1 second, sweeties. My mom is known for singing Janis Joplin songs. Oh, come on. Very interesting, very interesting. So I read your message, Sakona. I liked it. You shouldn't be sorry. Eventually you're gonna get tired of those. Of the hydrates? Or the southern? I'll never get tired of hydrating. Hydrating's so important. Make sure y'all drink, alright? Y'all grab some water right now. Slurp it down. Oh, because every time I tried to read it, Sakona, people kept messaging, so it kept sliding away. And so I couldn't read all of it. And so instead I had to hold it there and try to read it at the same time. And so I didn't read it out loud. That ain't water, chat. That ain't water. Y'all need to be drinking some water right now. Hydrate your thirsty selves. You're like a bad plant who can't even keep itself alive. Hydrate. You know, your life gets so much better when your water's done right. And your collage. Oh, such a bad plant. Y'all better start drinking. That's all I'm gonna call y'all, it's just bad plant all the time. It dehydrates you more to an extent. You can still hydrate a little bit with coffee. But it ain't the best thing for you. Same thing with tea. No getting drunk, it's too early in the morning for that. Be healthy, y'all. Now, what piece of armor am I missing? Chest piece. And there we go. Probably one of the few people that actually wears this. I think I'm gonna need my diamond later. Alright. Mm-hmm. Thank you for the follow, John the Boo Boo. Welcome. The voice is crazy. Thank you. Right now, we're stuck in the Southern for a little while. I forgot all about that I was even doing the Southern. I get used to it sometimes. It gets easy. Just a subtle little Southern. Ain't too much. Yeah. Southern is fun, ain't it? Ain't it such a fun little thing to do? You let that voice sit in the back of your throat. Make sure you enunciate the words. So y'all remember that I got... Man, I would so watch that. Imagine imagine how cool that would be. Like an Appalachia themed... what's the word I'm looking for? Appalachia themed isekai anime. I would love that. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's why it would be fun, because it'd be terrifying. Girls, the best things in life are terrifying. You can most definitely draw me as a cowboy. You would not be the first, you won't be the last. And I love it every time. So, I'm thinking about something here. What was that? Alright, the British voice. Y'all know how y'all gambled a British voice out of me. Well, I've been trying to practice it. Ain't there yet. And I realize my issue is that the difference between Australian and the British is how well they enunciate their words. The one that I'm looking for right now is kind of like Sebastian from Black Butler. That's what I'm currently working on. Because technically it's been redeemed as a posh British butler. But I realize that my enunciation is poorly, so that's why I keep dropping into Australian instead. And I like Australian more. I mean, the Australian accent's just so much more fun. It's not so proper and clean. It's got some personality to it. And I absolutely love it. We're most definitely not calling him Mr. Winklefart. Sorry to say, that's definitely no go on that one. Can you do an Aussie accent? I can do one decently. Not right now. There's Hero Brown right behind you? Oh, no. I mean, I could just bend. No. LuckyJene. La 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 lava chicken. And we're dropping into the normal voice. There's the thing I've been looking to murder. Hello, lovelies. Prepare to die. I need your skin. Oh, sweetie, come here. Good little sheepy. Sleep well, Panda. Has anybody actually seen the Minecraft movie? Oh, Princess Bride is a good one. That's not a knife. This is a knife. And that's a spoon. I see you've played knife and spoon before. A knife and spoonie. Oh. You know what the worst is? You know what the absolute worst is? I have long hair. Every once in a while I'll be sitting there and a piece of hair will kind of like shift and I'll see a dark shape move out of the corner of my eyes and I'll have a brief heart attack. Immediately I go, what's that? And I'm like, oh right, it's just my hair. Or I wear glasses, right? Hello, Jupiter. Been a little bit, sweetie. Where you been at? Morning, Yuki. And so, like, I'll turn because I'll see the frame of my glasses. And I'm like, that's luckily I have gold hair. I need to get you hair clips? No, I have hair clips and hair bands. I don't wear them. I guess we could live here, couldn't we? Skill issue. He needs a bonnet. I do have a bonnet. Actually, I don't know where my bonnet went. No, lost this up to the bonnet. They just keep falling out of my hair. Oh, sorry, Jupiter. I have long, very, very curly hair. That's very voluptuous. So even when I do curl it back or try to brush it back, it'll eventually curl up and bounce. And my hair isn't long enough to tie back on a hairband yet. It's right on the edge. Bonnet and a maid, you know. Not that kind of bonnet. Nope, voluptuous. It's got curves. It's got the yiddies of hair. Oh, interesting. They won't go together. I missed you too. I'm glad you're back. I hope y'all know that when I see a regular vanish, or y'all like have things to do, which is totally fine, don't get me wrong, but I do wonder where people go. I think about you when you're not here. But I'm pretty sure every streamer does. Not in a like, how dare they not be here? Though sometimes yes. But in a, I hope they're doing okay. kind of way. No, I'm dumb is what I am. That's okay, me. You're allowed to be dumb. You're also pretty. Thank you, me. Thank you for reminding me. I'm not Crucy. I wish no ill against anyone, and those that I do wish ill against are no longer here. I still don't wish ill upon them, but you know. Banning people is very easy. If it needs to be done, it will be done. Aye, sinful. I don't care that much. Don't get a big head. I care a little. Is that a bad thing or a good thing, Box? Is that just a neutral thing? Always watching, Mike Wazowski. Always watching. We're just gonna build a little makeshift house right now to hold us over until we get nicer materials. Before somebody complains, Gene, your house is ugly. Yeah, I know. It's okay. I'm so menacing. What do you mean I'm so menacing? True. True. A lovely villain. You are villainous. I cut my, man, I had my hair growing out pretty long. And then I had to get a new job, so I cut my hair. And I regret it, because my hair was nice and long. Now I gotta wait to get back to that growth state. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for the follow, and welcome to the menagerie. Lava chicken. That song is. Oh, thank you for the gifted sub. I really do appreciate it. Welcome. You're weak to me. You're just weak. It's okay though, you're allowed to be weak. Maybe, but I like the winter. I do prefer summer though, so valid. You see, I used to love the winter when I was younger, but now that I have to drive to work, winter immediately sucks. Because you have to clean off the ice off your windshields and have to deal with the snow on the ground. And that's lame. You don't sweat? That sounds like a you problem, honestly. There's some snow on the ground where you live. Girl, not every one of my laughs is evil. Sometimes I just laugh. I like my laughs. Y'all the ones who think they're evil. A rock date? I think they said socks, not rocks. But I like the idea of making... No, it's time. We're gonna make the rocks date each other. Do you know how you solve having single socks? All you need to do is do this. Only buy one type of sock ever. That's what I do. I only have like ankle-high black socks. And then I have like 2 pairs of, hiking socks and a few pairs of compression socks for driving. Well, buy 100 Deadpool socks. There you go. Get yourself some cheese. Good morning, Dongri. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Always greatly appreciated. Alright, I think we should start making some food. I'm gonna need a bucket or... Oh. Moo Moo. Darling. Sweetie. You sleep the best you can, alright? Take your time. Get some good sleeps. I hope you really, really enjoy it. Thank you for lurking. Game theory. Game theory. You're going to stake my ears. What is that? Are you going to stab me in the ear? Sweetie. Sugar pie. Don't do that. Who says I got ears to begin with? My ears are now steaks. Oh no. Can at least be like A5 Wagyu, or what are we talking about? Skirt steak. They ain't cat ears, they're dog ears. I know they're short, but not everybody has long ears. This is actually the average length for dog ears. Medium well. What a sin you've just mentioned to me. Why would you waste your time on something medium well? Medium's the darkest I should be getting. Darling, go to sleep. No, medium well is the worst steak. Right next to well done. I'm willing to accept medium. I doubt a single steak will be better medium well. Now, I can do blue, I can do rare, I can do medium. All of them are pretty good and valid in their own way. But medium, wow. That's some risky territory there. I'm eating some pizza crust right now. That's why I'm muted. Well, I mean, if your girl is thick and you cook it like that, it ain't medium well then, is it? That's just medium. A warm pink center is medium. It ain't medium well. No matter how thick it is, it's still medium. Yeah, sorry, it's the crunching noises I was making. I try to back away from the mic when I eat so y'all don't notice, but... Moo. Behave yourself. Go to bed. You just said you need to sleep. You've been up all night, playing games, having fun. It's time for you to get some sleep. That's right, I agree with that. Medium for burgers. Are you lying to me? Don't lie to me. You're working on audios for scripts. Oh, okay. Very impressive, actually. I want to know about your work meetings, but tell me about that another time. Curious. Oh, by the way, y'all should go check out Moo Moo. Moo Moo's very cool. And Yuki, if Yuki's still here, but they're probably streaming by now. They always come by here in the morning. Do I want to talk about... Oh, good, we still have like half an hour. I want to talk about some weird perceptions people have. People always get so in their head about growth, right? Like they'll be like, the second I started becoming a big streamer, people started paying attention to me. And I think people don't really put much thought into that, right? Because do you know why people start paying attention to you? Don't drop your phone on your face. People start paying attention to you as you grow, as you become bigger as a content creator. Because you draw attention. Thank you for the hydrate. I mean, think about it. If I read into somebody with 3 viewers, cool, I got 3 new viewers. But anybody can really get 3 viewers, right? It's the start. It's what you need to kind of hit affiliate. It just shows that, you're starting your journey. But there are so many people starting their journey. But if you rate somebody with, let's say, 50 viewers, 30 viewers, 300 viewers, suddenly it's like, oh, I wonder what this person is doing to get these viewers. What do people watch them for, right? And I know for a fact a few times people have come check me out after seeing me rate them because they're seeing the numbers. They aren't checking me out because of the numbers. The numbers are just proof that I'm putting effort into something. And so of course people are going to want to hang out, because the people who have high numbers are usually people who have started learning their trade, who've started getting good at what they're doing. They aren't just like saying they want to hang out with you because, oh, you're big now. Some people do. But a lot of times it's because you start getting bigger because you started getting good at what you were doing. And now you're significantly more appealing to people to come collab with and hang out with. Because you know what you're doing. You've improved. You're skilled. Whatever. How do you fare? How do I do? I do well. How do you do? And there's nothing wrong with following somebody who's succeeding and interacting with them only when they start succeeding, because they're kind of a proved quality, or progressing. And genuinely, people that know what they're doing are so much more fun to hang out with than people who are still struggling to figure it out. Nothing on anybody struggling to figure it out. And I watch small streamers all the time. And you can definitely tell the streamers who... Oh, I hope it fixes itself. Or not fixes itself, but I hope it doesn't die too soon. Yeah, I do raid a lot of small streamers, or I do look at a lot of small streamers, and I can tell the ones who... It's gonna sound bad. Aren't good streamers. They are the kind of streamers who focus on putting out content without really understanding why, or who haven't really practiced the skills they need to be a streamer. And I like small streamers, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of people who just never take the time to look at what they're doing and really learn from it. And if you want to do that, you want to see some actual growth and improvement, do just chatting streams. Do just chatting streams with only the subtlest, slowest background music. And talk for an hour. Don't talk like you're having a conversation with the viewer. Talk like you're always telling people about something. And any conversation that they have with you is a jumping off point for you. You don't talk back and forth. I think everybody can be an engaging streamer, but it doesn't come naturally, it takes practice. That's everything. Streaming is a skill, not a talent. Exactly. Say though, I think thank you for the hydrate, and the headbands, and the stretch. I think becoming a good streamer can be beneficial to people in their daily lives. I noticed. More confidence, more ability to kind of lead and talk. The streamers that seem naturally engaging oftentimes have jobs where they have to be, or have had to do it their whole lives. Nice. I'm never streaming again nap time, sorry. All streams this point forward are cancelled. Good luck. Can you imagine? I got lost. Okay. Dang. Wasn't I on the other side of the jungle? I should just build a boat. Play some more Minecraft. Minecraft is great. How'd I get lost? I wasn't paying attention. How do I always get lost? I just do. Don't you dare. How dare you bonk me? That is a lot of skeletons. We're not going that way. I changed my mind. I like your twerk too. Enjoy riding. Wait, is that home? I found home. Wow, that was surprisingly easy. Ain't that awesome? Alright, we're back. Pedro. No, I do not have to love that. Boop. Valeri. Hello, Valeri. Welcome to the menagerie. There we are. I did see him and I'm throwing brick in him. Oh wait, this is too close. No. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. One fine morning I was awakened. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Morning I was awakened. My dear partisan. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao. I do like classical music. And I like a lot of music. Oh, I also just like Zelda music. Dog, just for you. I'm such a good doggy. Thank you for the hydrant stretch. 1 second. I hope you know I'm probably just gonna hum the... finally use the big mug. Give me a second. You ready? I hope you know I'm probably just gonna sing the Song of Storms for the next, hour. Da 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 da. Dun 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 dun. Ba-da-dun, dun-dun-dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. I didn't say I'd do it on stream. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Na 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 na. I should probably make a mine off of my house so I don't have to keep worrying about coming out into a creeper. Da 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 na 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 na. Oh, you know what I'm not used to? I'm not used to being on the surface. So that means, you know what we can do? I can go get sand, and I can make like a, I can make a, thieves and beggars hoist the colors high. Evil all together, never will in time. Never will. Fine. Never shall we die. I keep a little down neath my pillow for the top man, in case he comes around. Take me down to his lair under the mountain, underground. That's where he keeps his dirt. Oh wait, well, how's that song go? Alright, I'm gonna keep this as low as I can, but there's a song that I really want to listen to real quick. Let's turn it just a little bit. This is just so... That's the point, is to barely hear it. We're in the ASMR setting. There it is. Anyways, I do love that song a lot, and I find it kind of like shuts off my brain for a little while. I wonder if I should do humming covers of songs just to have when I finally have the Patreon. And I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm trying to add a lot of little soft things to it. And thank you for the link. Speaking of, it is almost time for the end of stream. Unfortunately, I need to get ready for work. I wish I didn't have to. But until we're a full-time streamer, I will be here. I do think it's funny. Somebody recently posted, here's the money they make as a full-time streamer, and I'm like, I make more than you, and I can't be a full-time streamer, so, you know, guess everybody's view of being a full-time streamer is different. it is what it is. Ba-ba. Da-da-da. Anyways, it is time for me to find someone. It's been a little while since we raided into Bizfish. They are doing classic ASMR. So let's go say hi to them, okay? Y'all behave yourselves. Be sweet, kind, lovely. Let me make a little raid message for you. Well, bam. There's the raid message. Grab it. Copy it. Goodbye, lovelies.